tweezers, keycap switch puller. Give me the screwdriver. Give me the screwdriver. Okay. Now, if we just move the battery like oh! No, we're losing him. We're losing power. Can somebody give me the goddamn USB-C to C cables? Disassembling the Dygma Defy can be a delicate and potentially dangerous operation, but the right tools and knowledge can make it both fun and entirely safe. In this video, we'll take you on a step-by-step journey on how to safely disassemble and reassemble the Dygma Defy. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You know, to raise awareness and stuff, and so I can get more chocolate bars. Before we jump in and begin our guided operation, you're gonna need a soft mat or working surface, a Dygma keycap and switch puller, an M2 Phillips head screwdriver, the more magnetic the better, a Dygma bowl, 4 bottle keycaps, and a cold beer. And plenty of patience and delicacy. Now that you've got all your equipment, let's begin our operation. The first thing you're gonna do is unplug all external cables from the Defy. Don't ever attempt to disassemble the Defy while it's still plugged. This could lead to a rather shocking experience. Then remove the magnetic palm pads and place them to the side. Then if your neuron is plugged into the base, you'd want to remove that too.
Please make sure to also turn off each side.
Once unplugged, take out your first tool of the day, your handy Dygma keycap puller. Using your keycap puller, approach each key directly from above, allow the prongs to slot over each key, and then pull directly upwards. Some people use their hands, but I wouldn't recommend it, and mama knows best, folks. Upon removing each key, be sure to place it in the correct order on the side. This will save you a lot of time and confusion on reassembly. Next, we're going to take out those switches using the handy keycap switch puller. If you look carefully at the switch pulling side of this wonderful little tool, you'll see it has 2 claws on each side. These 2 claws slot over the top and bottom of each switch to activate the little pressure points residing in the switch. Once these pressure points are pushed, the switch will be released with ease. Just make sure, like with the keycaps, you pull vertically and never at an angle. Also, be careful not to scratch the surface of the Defy with the switch puller. You should only be making contact with the switch itself. And of course, place all of these switches into the Dygma bowl. When it comes to the low profile switches residing down here on the thumb cluster, you want to attack these from more of an east-west orientation. Take care with these switches, they're delicate little babies. They also don't have the same pressure points as the normal switches, so pull up on the plastic from either side, and they should come out with minimal force. Once you've removed all switches, you're ready to flip the Defy over and work a little on that back. Looking at the back of the Defy, let's first briefly identify just what everything does. On the outside, we have these flappable side legs. They have a rubber coating to keep the Defy stable when in tenting mode. Then, we have the built-in adjustable metal tenting legs along with the rods that determine the tenting angles. And here we have the reverse tilting legs, if you're someone who enjoys getting a little tilted. Around the outside of each half, you'll see the 6 screws that hold the bottom and the top of the Defy together. Right here in the middle, you'll find the 4 mounting screws that allow the Defy to be mounted to a desk, a tripod, or the arms of your chair. Although some may consider it not so pleasing to the eye, we wanted all our screws to be on full display. This gives our users full freedom to disassemble the Defy, as well as make quick repairs if necessary. Finally, on the left side of the Defy, you'll find the neuron port right here. Now, let's strip it. Keep in mind, removing the tenting legs isn't necessary when disassembling the Defy, but we'll quickly show you how to do it anyway. Starting with the little side legs. Apply a bit of pressure to one side of the legs and it should just pop out. Then moving on to the tenting rods. They should just pop out the same way the side legs did. Now to remove the tenting legs, squeeze either side at the base of the legs so that you can pull it out. The longer knob, which is this thing, is always pointing away from the center of the keyboard. Please remember to be careful when doing this. You don't want to bend the legs too much because this can end up giving you a wobbly keyboard when it's tented, and nobody wants a wobbly keyboard. Last but not least, the reverse tilting legs. Okay, now I think we're ready to open the Defy. Take that M2 Phillips screwdriver and unscrew the 6 outer screws on each half. This is where those handy bottle caps come in handy. It shouldn't be too hard to unscrew, but make sure you apply a little pressure so as to not damage the screw heads. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. It's time for some magic. Lift slowly from the bottom of the underside to look into the Defy here. You'll see there's a ribbon cable or bus cable connecting it to the top side. Whew! Now, this ribbon cable is pretty easy to release, but do it carefully. Remember, patience is a virtue. See these 2 black prongs that protrude from each side? So you need to lift those away from the top side of the Defy like this. You can use your nails, but if you've bitten all your nails, then you can use the switch puller to help you. Remember, be careful. Boom! You've now separated the top side and the bottom side. Lay it all like this and admire your work. Before we start disemboweling our beautiful Defy, let's first check out what's in here. On the underside of the Defy, you'll find the battery, the RF PCB that connects to the battery, and the Underglow PCB. You'll also find the little connector on the side that gives power to the Underglow PCB once the top and bottom side are sandwiched together. On the top side, you'll find the low profile PCB and the key scanner PCB. These curious little magnets are actually what hold your palm pads in place. Because of its complexity and risk, we're going to start with disassembling the underside of the Defy. Taking that trusty screwdriver, let's first remove the Underglow PCB. There are 4 screws around the outside, and using the same pressure as before, take those out and keep them separately by putting them in another one of your trusty bottle caps. The Underglow PCBs should just pop out nice and easily. You'll see all of the lovely 63 RGBW LEDs that give the Defy its gorgeous underglow. It's the best out there. Fact. You can also remove the Underglow diffuser, which easily pop out. Next up, let's remove the battery cable that connects to the RF PCB. Trust me, it looks more complicated than it is. Just take your thumb and index finger, get a firm grasp of the end of the cable where it meets the plug, and gently pull up and away from the RF PCB. Once unplugged, the RF PCB can be unscrewed and removed. Again, keep the 3 screws safe in another bottle cap. You'll see there is a small piece of plastic screwed on each side on top of the RF PCB. This can be removed. This piece of plastic keeps the PCB in place, and for the left side, it protects the neuron connector from wibble-wobbling around. Then, if you lightly pull back on the ribbon cable, you'll see that there's a double-sided tape holding it in place. Just gently remove it, and this will allow you to fully remove the RF PCB. It's important to note that these little guys are switches for the RF PCB and they can come out. So make sure you don't lose them. And when you put them back, right is red and left is green. Now, Dygmates, the battery removal.
You only need to remove it in case you're going to swap it for a new one. It's just taped to the underside. Please be careful when removing it. Batteries can be delicate. Don't use a screwdriver or anything sharp or metallic.
And not really a part of the disassembly, but you'll see a little insert at the top and bottom of the underside of the Defy. By tightening this screw with the tenting legs attached, you'll increase or decrease the ease of movement of the tenting legs themselves. However, take great care with this too. If you screw this too tightly, you could disturb the straightness of the leg and again end up with a wonky tented keyboard. And just like that, we've fully disassembled the underside of the Dygma Defy. The top side is a lot simpler, thankfully. Let's unscrew the 4 screws that hold the key scanner PCB firmly in place. Then lift that glorious key scanner PCB out and take a look. If you're thinking this looks like some form of projectile murder weapon, you'd be right. The felt on the top side of the key scanner PCBs acts as a form of protection for the individual key LEDs. As the LEDs protrude a little, this felt makes everything the same level. If you want to know more about these awesome RGBW LEDs, check out this video. On the bottom side of the key scanner PCBs, you'll see all the switch sockets, the chips, and lines of information. Underneath these key scanner PCBs, you'll see a layer of soft foam. This acts as a high-frequency sound absorber. This can be taken out and played with too, but it doesn't work so much as a weapon. Finally, the stabilizers can be removed and set aside. This doesn't necessarily need to be removed. It can be a little annoying to put it back in place. It's a delicate little bastard. So there you have it! The Dygma Defy has officially been disassembled. So before we reassemble the Dygma Defy, take a moment to appreciate your work. Throw on some classic elevator music and crack open a cold beer. Now, before we put the Defy back together, remember that with all screws, none of them need to be overly tight. They're delicate little beings that don't like to be screwed around too much. So keep it firm, but not overly tight. Let's start by popping in the stabilizers and then lay the sound dampening foam back in place, followed by the key scanner PCBs felt side down. Secure that with the right screws. Remember, firm but not overly tight. Nice! So that's the top side of the Dygma Defy complete. The underside is a little more complex, but the hard work is over. First, slot your RF PCB back in place, making sure it's the correct way, like this. Then re-stick the ribbon cable tape and lightly screw the RF PCB in place. Remember to screw back in these plastic pieces as well. And then reconnect the battery by pressing the plug with a little pressure. A click sound will let you know it's in place. The Underglow diffuser and the Underglow PCB should almost fall right into its correct position. Just be sure to first lay the Underglow diffuser before laying the Underglow PCB on top. And make sure you don't trap the ribbon cable underneath the Underglow PCB. When ready, get screwing. Again, an important reminder, you don't need to screw this in tightly at all. You see this spring connector right here? This needs to touch the pads on the key scanner. So if you tighten the sides, it might not touch. So again, don't screw this in very tightly. Now, just like how you unclipped the ribbon cable before, lay your top side this way, close to your bottom side, and make sure the clip is lifted away from the base, and then plug the ribbon cable back in before pushing the clip back down. It might be even useful to lift the top side this way, just so the ribbon cable can reach the clip on the top side of the Defy. Nice. Now we're going to get those final screws in place. There should only be 6 left. 6 per side. If you have more screws with you, then you may need to revisit the reassembly section to find out where they go. Now, reconnecting the legs is a piece of cake. The tilting legs are way easier to put in. These prongs flex without too much pressure and can slot into place pretty easily. When attaching the tenting angle rods, be sure to do so from the underside of the legs. This is to ensure the rods don't protrude over the top surface of the legs, like this. It's easier to put one side in first and then the other. The same goes with the side legs. Make sure you kind of squeeze these two prongs in when you slot it in. Alright, so the tenting legs are back in. We have everything assembled. Now, before placing all switches, keep in mind that this can be a little bit of a delicate operation. Take a look at the underside of a switch. You'll see the little metal pins that connect the switch to the PCB of your keyboard. If one of these pins is slightly bent, it won't enter the plug and will instead bend further out of place when pressed. This is something you don't want to happen. Of course, you can easily strengthen the pin with a pair of tweezers, but if using the right method, this won't be an issue. So my personal method, which I consider the best method, is to lay the pin on top of the port, ensuring it's nice and lined up. As a visual reference, this little square hole where the LED shines out from should be at the top side when placing the switch in. Then apply light pressure to the bottom to ensure the pins are the first to enter before pushing the top of the switch and clicking it into place. Make sure you always check the metal pins if they're bent, and if they are, just straighten it. At this point, feel free to plug the Defy to make sure you have a stable connection by pushing a switch on each side. Do we have lights? Yes, we do! If yes, then you're ready to plug in more switches or just attach the keycaps. If no, then you probably need to check the wiring to make sure everything is correctly in place. For now, I'll turn off the Defy and move on to the penultimate step, which is now to cover the Defy in keycaps. These are much easier than the switches as long as you keep them in the right order. Just a little pressure in the center of the key and it will pop into place. Phew! I feel like I need another celebratory beer. So our final check is to set the Defy to stalker mode and check that every key has a stable connection. Head over to base core if you don't know where your LED next key is, this key. Now, all you need to do is drag your fingertips all over the keys like this to make sure that every single one lights up. We found one. Aha! Tweezers! If you had any questions while watching this video, we'd like to hear them. Write them in the comments below and we'll have our top experts answer them. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, our goal at Dygma is to keep our products transparent. We pride ourselves on knowing that our customers can easily disassemble our products with relative ease. Whether it be to fix or replace a certain component or just to feel that childlike sense of curiosity that we so dearly appreciate. Also, we've had a few requests to make an ASMR version of the disassembly of the Defy. Is this something you guys would like to see? Let us know. Thanks for tuning in. Beer. Beer.
Okay.
I don't want to drink anymore.